Academia is failing, and it's been happening for years. I've seen it firsthand from undergrad to a postdoc, and the cracks are undeniable. So here are the 5 biggest reasons that I think academia is in decline. Science is an art. I believe that this is the core idea that we've lost throughout the years, and many issues plaguing academia are stemming from it. As an experimental neuroscientist myself, I still see that what we do is a kind of art, but somewhere along the way, we have stopped seeing science as a craft to be honed and appreciated. Instead, we have become productivity machines, chasing metrics and turning research into a means to an end. Part of the problem is how academia divides art and science, as if the two don't mix. But at the heart of it, science is about discovery. It's about finding something beautiful. And I guess here we should define beauty, because beauty to me is to understand a topic and to make a connection which previously wasn't there. It is to have time to sit with a thought in your head and somehow make a serendipitous connection, just like Richard Feynman did with plates. It is going for a coffee and finding out that the person in the next building has the right equipment for your experiment. It is embracing that weird result that challenges your hypothesis. It is basically to do science for the sake of science, and you just follow the path that is presented to you without any expectations. And here lies the crux of the issue, because today we expect a lot. Studies must be translational, beneficial for society, and groundbreaking. Take this paper for example. I just love it. It is an elegant study on spine dynamics, which is fundamental in understanding the synapse biology. But it doesn't have a direct line to disease, making it super hard to fund. Yeah, you know how difficult it is to fund something like this. While I understand the need for applied research, sacrificing basic scientific inquiry often leads to unintended consequences when tackling complex problems. And because we now prioritize funding agency expectations over pure discovery, we find ourselves in our next dilemma, and that is chasing metrics. Funding agencies, institutions, and foundations operate in a systematic way. The main objective is similar to any other organization, and that is to maximize the return on investment. The return is not financial, however, it is about scientific discovery. The challenge is that often these entities are not scientific by nature, and often they rely on external indicators to decide where the funding goes. And some of these indicators are the impact of the research proposed, the lab where the work will be carried out, the metrics of the scientist, and of course the infrastructure that is available for this project. Notice that scientists themselves are also judged by metrics. Well, we often say that these metrics do not really reflect the true value of a researcher. However, we still use them. We have nothing better to use. So, for example, a paper published in Nature or Science, for us it is a status symbol. It is maybe like a Birkin bag in fashion. So as scientists, we started to optimize for metrics, rather than for curiosity. The goal became to publish as many papers as possible, while also securing the most prestigious journals. Because hey, one Birkin bag is good, but 10 probably are better, right? So even if the study is maybe not that groundbreaking, we have learned how to package it in order to make it sound more exciting. And by losing the sight of scientific purpose, we entered into a rat race whereby we are constantly on a treadmill running. And unfortunately, the symptoms are seen all the time. Because I believe that this mindset has led to an increase in data manipulation and also paper retractions now, as well as an all-time high of mental issues and struggles in academia. Well, I was recently watching some Ali Abdaal videos lately, and I came across this quote which I thought like it fits quite nicely for today, and that is that if left unchecked, players will optimize the fun out of the game they're playing. And since we're the optimization experts, I can truly say that we've really optimized ourselves into a corner. This has led us to follow sometimes a safe path in order to have a guaranteed paper at the end. But beyond chasing publications, there's another invisible barrier in academia, and that is the Wunderkind Syndrome. Funding agencies and the universities want to support exceptional scientists, but exceptional is often defined in a very specific way. And that is someone who has published extensively, networked prolifically, contributed to the community, and they did all of this within 5 years of being awarded a PhD. Practically academia on steroids. And I'm saying all of this from a position of privilege, because I have met the expected milestones, but I often wonder if someone takes 6, 7, 8, even 10 years, are they any less of a scientist? I think not. Was Ray Kroc less of a visionary than Mark Zuckerberg just because he built McDonald's at 52? Science, like any other creative pursuit, cannot thrive under relentless pressure. Michelangelo famously threw some scaffolding planks at the Pope because he was rushing him, and art cannot be rushed. And so is science. Yet in today's academic system, we have to fit into these imposed timelines. And while I do understand the practical reason behind it, I do sometimes worry about the hidden cost behind it all. Science is unpredictable, and assuming it follows a linear path is a dangerous notion. We've built an endless hamster wheel, where scientists are more worried about their metrics rather than their discoveries. And in my opinion, that's a loss not just for the individual, but also for science itself. And ironically, while institutions push for innovation, the structures in place might be holding it back. And this leads us to the next challenge: innovation versus old school infrastructure. So recently I came across a reel from a particular content creator. Currently I cannot remember his name, but I'll put it over here actually. And he was discussing corporate culture. He made an interesting point that resonated quite well with me, and that is that when a company promotes innovation, however it operates under an old school infrastructure, over time the established traditional system will prevail. And unfortunately, this is exactly what happens in academia. Universities often emphasize innovation in their messaging in order to attract more funding, recruit young researchers, and also position themselves as a forward-thinking institution. However, when it comes to the day-to-day operation, the administrative structure remains highly traditional. And by traditional, I mean very bureaucratic. Some administrative processes have barely changed in the last decade, probably in the last century. This becomes increasingly evident as you progress in your academic career. Bureaucracy, red tape, and also slow-moving processes start to take up more and more of your time. Tasks that should be straightforward, like fixing contracts, getting approval, and obtaining permissions, become a series of back and forth. The challenge is that scientists operate under strict time constraints, with deadlines, run cycles, and also career milestones that demand time efficiency. As we've established before, we have to be Wunderkinder, trailblazers, pioneers, whatnot. Meanwhile, administrative timelines are often less urgent, creating a fundamental mismatch. While administrators have an important role in maintaining stability, the disconnect between their world and the world of fast-paced research often makes it very difficult for scientists. At the end of the day, the ones at a disadvantage are the ones with time constraints. And the last point is the overlooked human underneath. This last point is probably the most overlooked challenge in academia. Universities proudly promote international recruitment in the name of innovation. Funding agencies push for global mobility at all costs. But in these discussions, one crucial factor is often overlooked, and that is the scientist as a person. Because personally I feel that for the sake of innovation, we are forgetting a huge chunk of scientists. What about the scientists who want to put down roots and have a stable life and form long-term relationships? What happens to their pensions and social contributions when frequent moves leave them outside of the national system? What about academics on grants who aren't even recognized as official employees and therefore fall through the cracks of social security? And let's not forget about those working full-time in academia, highly educated professionals who sometimes still earn less than the poverty wage. As you can see, these are real pressing issues faced by scientists. And mind you, this is not just in developing countries, but this is happening in well-established, highly regarded institutions in Western countries. In my view, if we keep on undervaluing researchers in this way, we're practically starving the system that is actually driving the progress. You know, as the story goes for the goose that lays the golden eggs. And at some point we have to stop and ask ourselves, is this really sustainable? So the way forward. Well, if anyone is still watching, I guess this video has resonated quite well with you. And so before I say my Cheerios, I wanted to leave you with 2 points of discussion or food for thought. And so the first point is for those who are part of a university or of a funding agency. First of all, thanks for watching. For sure, if you have made it this far, you want to understand the issue better. And probably you also want to contribute to making it better. So for this, I have only one question for you to ask yourself. Is there a recurring complaint that you often hear. However, so far you have never taken any action on it, as it doesn't fall directly under your responsibility. And I'm asking this because even for the well-intentioned, bureaucracy has a way of decentralizing accountability and responsibility, which creates a paradox whereby an issue is widely recognized, however, it is never truly addressed. And personally, I think that a small shift in ownership and problem solving can go a long way. As the common saying is, it is not your fault, however, it is your responsibility to make things better. The second point is for the fellow scientists. And yeah, for you, I have a task. And the most important task of them all is to learn. I know every other person has a PhD, and it is our business to learn. But what I mean here is to learn beyond your research. Specifically, learn about finances. It is astounding how educated we are, but at the same time, how ignorant we are of certain aspects of life, especially about the financial system. And so my task for you is to learn, but also to talk to your colleagues about what you're learning, to compare notes, and to also develop a better understanding of the financial world around you. I know you don't care much for money, and that's what I used to say as well. However, I have one question for you. Do you want to be a 75-year-old forced to work a job to make ends meet? And trust me, forced is the key word here. Well, if you're still here and still watching this video, I would really love to hear about your academic journey in the comments down below. I want to hear about your views and the biggest problems that you're facing. And with this, I wish you all the best. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!